Can you imagine the feeling of your stepson suddenly walking into your room while you're changing clothes? It's a violation of personal space that no one expects. But what makes this more dangerous than just an ordinary mistake? A seemingly small incident brings with it deep consequences, shaking everything within the family. Don't miss these tense moments where all certainties are thrown into doubt. Before continuing the story, tell me which city you are watching from. I want to know how far this video has come. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so I can send you exciting stories like this every day. It was one of those regular afternoons, the kind where nothing seemed out of place, nothing to suggest the kind of day that would leave me questioning everything I knew about my family. I had just gotten home from work, tired, but relieved to be in the comfort of my own house. The door clicked shut behind me, and I felt a wave of relaxation wash over me. But as I moved through the hallway, I noticed something strange. The house was unusually quiet. My husband was at work, and my stepson, Mason, was supposed to be in his room doing his homework. I tossed my bag onto the couch, kicked off my shoes, and headed toward the stairs. My room was upstairs, at the end of the hall, the place where I felt safest, the place I could finally relax after a long day. But as I approached my bedroom door, I felt a nagging feeling in my gut. Something was wrong. I brushed it off, thinking I was just tired, but the feeling didn't fade. I entered my room, locking the door behind me as I usually did, and started to change out of my work clothes. But as I removed my blouse, preparing to slip into something more comfortable, I heard the faintest sound, a knock on the door. I froze, my heart pounding. It was Mason. I knew it. His voice came next, tentative, almost uncertain. My hand hovered over the door handle. Please comment number 1 so that I can know that you liked the video and subscribe to our channel. Your support is a great inspiration and encouragement for us. Thank you very much. I didn't want to yell at him. Mason had always been a sweet boy, respectful in his own way, even if things between us were a little awkward sometimes. His father and I had been married for almost 3 years, and though we got along fine, I knew it would take time for him to fully accept me as his stepmother. I couldn't help but notice how he seemed to watch me a little too closely sometimes, how his gaze lingered on me longer than it should. Mason, I'm changing. Could you give me a minute? I called out, my voice as calm as I could manage. But the door handle turned. I jumped back, but it was too late. The door creaked open just enough to reveal his silhouette. He froze the moment he saw me standing there in nothing but my bra and skirt. His eyes went wide and I felt a rush of panic. Mason, I shouted, grabbing the closest thing I could, my blouse, and holding it in front of me. His eyes darted away, but the damage was done. He had seen me. I could feel my face burning with embarrassment, my heart racing from the shock. He muttered a hasty apology, his voice shaking. I'm sorry, I thought. I didn't mean to. I could barely form words. What are you doing? I said, my voice trembling. You need to knock before entering. That's private. But Mason was already halfway down the hallway, his face flushed with shame. I stood there breathless, my mind spinning. Please pause for 2 seconds. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support is a great inspiration and encouragement for us. Thank you very much. What had just happened? Why had he come into my room uninvited, especially when I was changing? Mom, can I come in? I sat on the edge of my bed, trying to calm myself down. It wasn't his fault, was it? I told myself it was an accident, a mistake that could be easily forgiven. But a part of me couldn't shake the unease that was settling into my chest. What did it mean? Why did he act so nervous? I kept replaying the moment over and over, wondering if it was just an innocent mistake or something more. The awkwardness lingered between us for days after, like a cloud that wouldn't go away. Mason avoided eye contact with me, and I found myself doing the same. He was never one to avoid me, always polite, always respectful. But now there was something different. The atmosphere between us had changed. One night, a few days after the incident, I couldn't hold it in any longer. I had to confront him. He was sitting in the living room watching TV, his eyes glued to the screen, but I could tell he wasn't really paying attention. He was lost in his thoughts, maybe trying to avoid mine. I took a deep breath and walked over to him. Mason, I said softly, sitting beside him, we need to talk. He shifted uncomfortably, his eyes flicking to mine, but he didn't speak. He just waited. I've been thinking about what happened the other day, and I need to know, Was it an accident? Did you really not mean to walk in? I asked, my voice trembling as I tried to keep my emotions in check. Mason swallowed hard, his throat bobbing nervously. His hands were clenched into fists in his lap. I didn't mean to hurt you, I swear. His voice was low, almost a whisper. I didn't know what I was doing. I felt a chill run down my spine. My heart raced as I tried to understand what he meant by that. What do you mean, Mason? I asked, my voice growing faint. Mason hesitated, his eyes shifting away from mine, filled with confusion and uncertainty. He seemed so lost in his own thoughts, struggling to make sense of what he had just said. His voice was low and shaky, as if every word was a battle he didn't want to face, but couldn't avoid either. I could feel the tension building in the room, as though the walls themselves were closing in on us. The silence that stretched between us was deafening, suffocating even. Mason, I whispered, my voice barely above a breath. I wanted him to say something, to explain, to make this make sense, but instead he just stood there, his hands trembling slightly at his sides, avoiding my gaze. What are you saying? I asked again, this time with more urgency in my voice. The confusion in my mind mirrored the look in his eyes, and I needed clarity, something to hold on to make this all less overwhelming. He swallowed hard before speaking again. I don't know, I've been feeling strange about you, about everything. His words hung in the air, heavy with meaning, but unclear in their intention. There was something in his tone that sent a shiver down my spine. Something raw and unsettling that I couldn't fully understand. The room suddenly felt too small, like the air was thick and impossible to breathe. I felt my stomach churn as a wave of panic washed over me. This wasn't how I imagined things would go. This wasn't a conversation I ever expected to have. Not with him. I don't understand, I whispered, my heart racing. What do you mean, strange? My mind struggled to process his words, trying to piece together something that made sense. But all I could do was look at him, waiting for an explanation that never seemed to come. Mason shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting around the room, not meeting mine. He seemed to be searching for something, in a cape perhaps, or just the right words to say, but nothing came out. I've been thinking about you more than I should, he finally admitted, his voice barely audible. My heart stopped. The weight of his words hit me like a brick. I wanted to respond, to ask him how he could feel this way, but the words were trapped in my throat. How could he say that? How could he be feeling this way? I couldn't comprehend it. My emotions were a whirlwind, and I didn't know how to ground myself amidst the storm. But I swear I didn't mean to do anything, Mason continued quickly, his voice trembling. I never wanted to hurt you. He looked down at the floor, and his shoulders slumped in defeat, as though the weight of his own emotions was too much to bear. His words were desperate, filled with regret and confusion, but they didn't ease the tension between us. If anything, they made it worse. I could feel my own heart racing, my thoughts spinning. His admission was like a dropped into the fragile structure of our relationship, shattering any sense of security I had. What was happening? Was this just a misunderstanding, or was there something deeper lurking beneath the surface? I stood there frozen, unsure of what to do or say. My mind was screaming for answers, but nothing seemed to make sense. His feelings were out in the open now, raw and real, and I wasn't sure how to deal with them. How do you react when someone you care about admits to feelings they shouldn't have? Feelings that threaten to break the trust you've built? Each word from Mason only deepened the confusion and unease I felt. He swore he didn't want to hurt me, but how could I be sure? How could I trust that what he was saying was the truth? The truth when everything felt so wrong. I wanted to believe him, but part of me couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Was this truly an accident, or was there more to this than met the eye? The more I tried to make sense of it all, the more tangled my thoughts became. What was I supposed to do now? How was I supposed to look at him after everything he had just said? The room was thick with tension, and I felt trapped, like I couldn't escape the weight of the situation. And all I could do was stand there, staring at him, wondering if everything had just changed forever. My emotions right now feel like a massive storm, tearing everything I thought I knew to pieces. What once seemed stable has now shattered in an instant. My family feels as if it's drowning in a wave of uncertainty, and I stand in the middle, unsure of what to do next. My mind is spinning with questions, doubts, and feelings I can't make sense of. We are like ships lost in the open sea, with no clear shore in sight, unsure of how to escape the stormy waves crashing against us. The silence in the room feels like an invisible wall separating me from Mason, making everything more awkward than ever. The unspoken words, the emotions that haven't been shared, rise like waves crashing on the shore. I want to speak, I want to understand, but I feel as though I'm lost in a maze, unable to find an exit. The feeling of loneliness, helplessness, is like standing in the middle of a blurry painting, unable to clearly see what is happening around me. I don't know what will happen next. Will we be able to overcome this challenge? Or will we forever be caught in this suffocating feeling? No matter what, I will have to face these emotions, because I know that only by confronting and resolving them can we find peace within ourselves. After everything that has happened, I am left with nothing but a deep sense of confusion, uncertainty, and an overwhelming inability to find the right answers to the questions swirling in my mind. Each of Mason's words hit me like a punch to the heart, leaving me trapped in a whirlwind of emotions and thoughts I couldn't quite unravel. I cannot deny that this event has changed everything in my family. But can I believe his apology? Can I continue to live with these unresolved feelings? Everything now feels so complicated, and I have no idea what the next step should be. Standing before emotions I can't fully understand, I feel like I'm stuck in a tangled mess, unable to untangle myself. There are times when I want to push it all out of my mind to escape this harsh reality. But I can't, because it is the truth that I can't escape. Mason has confessed his feelings, and now I have to face my own. Do I have the courage to confront and resolve everything? Or will I forever live with doubt and pain? This story is not just a lesson about human emotions, but also a reminder of the importance of understanding and trust in every relationship. Family is supposed to be where we find comfort and stability in life, but sometimes invisible boundaries complicate things, making everything feel so messy. We can never predict what will happen, but we can learn how to face challenges and find ways to overcome them. This story provides a profound lesson about boundaries, trust, and the sensitivity required in family relationships. When boundaries are not respected, whether unintentionally or deliberately, it can lead to conflicts and shift the dynamics between family members. Boundaries in a family are not just rules or regulations, but are also about mutual respect, an awareness of each other's emotions, and the actions we take to protect each person's personal space. This becomes especially crucial in complex relationships, like between parents and children, or between someone newly joining a family, as seen in this story. In life, we often overlook small actions that may violate these boundaries, and sometimes what seems like a harmless mistake can snowball into a major event. If you fail to recognize someone else's feelings or don't understand their sensitivities in a given situation, things can become much more complicated than you anticipate. Just like in this story, even though Mason accidentally walked into the room without intending to invade her privacy, the event created tension and a rupture in the relationship between him and the woman, as well as between her and the whole family. This story highlights an important lesson that we often don't think about. Silence and unspoken words can cause deeper misunderstandings than when we openly face our emotions and thoughts, especially in a family where respect and understanding are the foundation for a lasting relationship. For the woman in this story, the silence after the incident created an atmosphere of tension, making everything more awkward. The unasked questions and lingering feelings prevented her from finding peace in her heart, even though there was no malice involved. We also need to recognize that in situations like this, whether by accident or design, we cannot simply ignore and move past it without considering the other person's feelings. This story is a reminder of the importance of maintaining respect and understanding in every relationship, especially in complicated family dynamics. What Mason felt and what she went through is a clear example of how a lack of empathy and understanding can hurt deeply within a family. If you felt that this story touched a part of your emotions, don't hesitate to hit the subscribe button to stay updated with even more intense and captivating videos. We will continue to bring you real-life stories, valuable lessons, and emotional moments that you won't want to miss. Subscribe today so you never miss a video from us.